Kate Martin's offhand comment about beach days might have been casual, but it exposed the entire strategy behind Unrivaled. Rather than selling itself as a serious basketball league, Unrivaled is pitching lifestyle over substance, sand, sun, and social media over structure competition. It's a pitch aimed at fans and sponsors, not athletes chasing legacy. And when the league's biggest draw seems to be leisure time, it's no wonder stars like Caitlin Clark want no part of it.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
She's built her brand on performance, not appearances, and a glorified exhibition circuit doesn't align with that. This isn't just a branding misfire, it's a foundational flaw. If players view the league as downtime, fans will treat it the same. Without authentic competition, there's no compelling reason to watch, let alone invest. The clock is ticking for Unrivaled to shift its identity. If it can't secure the commitment of serious players like Clark and build something rooted in real basketball, it won't last beyond the buzz of its. It finally happened. Caitlin Clark officially signed on to Unrivaled, at least in name. And suddenly, the league that couldn't decide if it was a serious basketball venture or a beachfront influencer camp has the biggest name in women's basketball tied to its brand. But here's the twist. Clark might be on the roster, but she's not all in. In fact, everything about her public stance suggests she's not interested in actually playing, at least not in the way Unrivaled wants her to. The league has made it clear from the jump that it's chasing stars, not building competition. Their recruitment strategy hasn't been subtle. Expand the roster just wide enough to fit Clark. Ramp up marketing just enough to center her. And frame it all as revolutionary, while quietly hoping no one notices how little of it is about actual basketball. Photos. Instead of hard courts and rivalries, Unrivaled's pitch to players has leaned heavily into lifestyle. Beaches, social content, casual hangs. Kate Martin, one of the players involved, was even quoted saying, "We can just go to the beach on our off days," as if that was supposed to sweeten the pot for top-tier competitors. And maybe it did for some. But if that's the selling point, we're not talking about a league built for competitive basketball. We're talking about a beach retreat with a side of shooting drills. It's the clearest sign, yet that Unrivaled isn't trying to attract the most skilled players. It's trying to attract the most followed ones. And with Clark leading all rookie jersey sales, TV ratings, and social buzz, she was the crown jewel. Locking her in, even on paper, was the entire strategy. But here's where it gets awkward. Caitlin Clark hasn't exactly been subtle about her thoughts on 3-on-3 basketball. She doesn't want to play it. She said so, and she's turned down other 3-on-3 opportunities that were arguably more prestigious and less gimmicky than Unrivaled. The format doesn't appeal to her. It doesn't fit her game. And it doesn't align with the career she's building in the WNBA and beyond. So when Unrivaled drops a roster with Clark's name front and center, it looks great on social. It fuels headlines. It generates hype. But the reality is, she might never step on the court for them. She didn't participate last year. There's been no indication she's changed her mind. And without her presence, the league's credibility takes a hit fast. Clark's priority has never been unclear. She's invested in her WNBA career. She's working on her game, securing major endorsements, and navigating a demanding rookie season under the media microscope. Adding an off-season commitment that doesn't help her develop, risks injury, or forces her into a format she doesn't like. That's not the kind of move she makes. And it's not just about preference, it's about purpose. Everything about Clark's approach has been intentional. She's focused on long-term success. She doesn't need Unrivaled to grow her brand. If anything, Unrivaled needs her just to stay afloat. Photos. That's the problem. When a league's business model hinges on who shows up, instead of what kind of basketball gets played, it becomes a house of cards. Sabrina Ionescu was another major name floated around, and her participation, or lack of it, further underlines the fragility here. If Clark, Sabrina, or any other major star decides the juice isn't worth the squeeze, the whole operation risks collapse. And that's not dramatic. That's just math. Viewership, sponsorships, press coverage, they all hinge on marquee names. And the second those names don't show up, fans lose interest. Investors pull back. The product can't stand on its own because there's no structure underneath the Unrivaled wants to be revolutionary. But revolution doesn't start with soft branding and empty courts. It starts with competition, with rivalries, with systems players believe in. And right now, that's not what this is. Players are treating it like an exhibition. They're not grinding through film, adjusting strategies, or chasing championships. They're relaxing. They're coasting. It looks more like an off-season content shoot than a competitive league. Clark knows that. That's probably why she stayed distant. She's not just a star. She's a competitor. She plays to win. And Unrivaled doesn't offer anything she can win that matters to her. The medals, the rings, the legacy, it all lives in the WNBA and global stage, not on a sand-adjacent court with a DJ booth. There's also the style issue. 3-on-3 basketball isn't 5-on-5. It's faster, more improvisational, and less strategic in ways that don't play to Clark's strengths. She's a rhythm player, a floor general, someone who commands space and orchestrates movement. The 3-on-3 format limits that. It flattens the depth of the game, turning it into a highlight reel instead of a full performance. So why would she lean into that? She wouldn't, and she hasn't. That's the core disconnect. The league is promoting something she's never endorsed, hoping her name alone keeps them. At the heart of it is a fundamental mismatch. Unrivaled sells fantasy. Clark plays reality, and no amount of branding or influencer buzz can paper over that tension. Fans know it. Players know it. Even sponsors probably know it. And that makes the league's entire foundation feel shaky. There's also the question of longevity. For years, that's the over-under a lot of people are giving this project. And that's being generous. If it can't deliver quality play, attract committed talent, and find a stable audience, the clock will start ticking. The novelty will fade. The stars will pull out. And the league will be left with courtside photos and no game. So why do they list Clark at all? That's the desperate part. Her name carries weight. It boosts engagement. It fuels speculation. And even if she never touches the court, the association alone buys Unrivaled a few more news cycles. But it's a dangerous game, because every time she doesn't play, the gap between what's promised and what's real gets wider. Fans get skeptical. Media gets harsher. The league loses trust. And eventually, that catches up to them. Unrivaled had a chance to build something meaningful. But instead of focusing on a basketball, they bet it all on star power. That strategy might work short-term, but it's not sustainable. Stars have their own agendas, their own brands, and their own standards. They won't stick around just to prop up a weak product. Clark, in particular, is never going to be anyone's placeholder. If she plays, it's because she believes in the league. If she doesn't, that silence says everything. Right now, she's letting the gap between her values and the league's vision speak for itself. If Unrivaled wants to survive, it has to grow up. Get serious. Build something worth showing up for, not just for fans, but for the players who define the game. Until then, it's just vibes. And vibes alone don't win championships. So what do you think? Is Unrivaled onto something? Or is this just another hype train headed straight for a wall? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like if you're side-eyeing this strategy too, and subscribe for the next messy twist in the world of basketball drama. You won't want to miss what happens next. The thing that makes all this even messy, eh? Caitlin Clark didn't need this league. She didn't ask for it. She didn't promote it. And she didn't tease involvement. Yet Unrivaled positioned her like a flagship, because just the possibility of her showing up sends their marketing through the roof. That's how much leverage she has. She doesn't even have to speak, and the room shifts. But Clark has spoken multiple times, and each time, she's emphasized the same thing. Her focus is on real basketball, real competition, her rookie season, her growth as a pro. So when a lifestyle-driven 3-on-3 offshoot tries to loop her in as the centerpiece, without her co-signing that vision, it feels forced, inauthentic, a reach. That's the risk Unrivaled keeps taking. They're betting on players' brands, not their buy-in. And while that might work in a highlight culture, it doesn't build a sustainable league. Because once fans realize their favorite stars aren't actually involved, or worse, aren't interested, the disillusion hits hard. Kate Martin's beach comment became a metaphor for the entire operation. No one expected players to be grinding tape or scheming playoff runs, but the laid-back attitude confirmed what people already suspected. This isn't a league built around competition. It's a league built for clips, photos, and social media recaps. And that's fine until you start promising something deeper. And then there's the play style. 3-on-3 has its place. It's exciting in bursts. It works in Olympic settings. But it's not what Clark built her career on. And it's not how she excels. Her game thrives on spacing, tempo control, reading defenses, and creating plays with precision. That just doesn't translate to a half-court sprint fest with no coaching structure and a 12-second shot clock. The league could try to rebrand the format all at once, but it's not going to change who Caitlin Clark is or what makes her valuable as a player. She's not interested in dumbing her game down for spectacle. She's playing chess while Unrivaled's playing checkers in a beach chair. What makes it worse is that fans were sold something else entirely. The rollout painted Unrivaled as a next-gen league, something that would empower players and elevate women's basketball. And it could have done that if it had been built on actual basketball fundamentals. But instead, it went the other way. The early games were sloppy. The energy was low. Players looked half-engaged. And the product didn't reflect the talent supposedly behind it. If your audience comes in expecting high-stakes matchups and gets glorified open runs instead, they won't come back. It doesn't matter how famous the names are on a roster sheet. Clark's absence only drives that home. She's not being petty. She's being calculated. She knows that her presence validates the whole operation. And if she's not going to be involved in a serious way, she's not going to fake it for a quick paycheck or PR boost. That's the part Unrivaled doesn't seem to understand. Because when you list Clark on your roster, but she doesn't play, fans don't just shrug. They ask questions. They sense the disconnect. They start wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. And it chips away at the league's credibility with every notion. That's the thing about star power. It's a double-edged sword. It can boost your league, but it can also expose it. If the stars aren't engaged, if they treat it like a side gig or worse, a vacation, then people stop taking it seriously. And no amount of branding can cover that up. Clark's trajectory is built on serious competition. Iowa, Team USA, the WNBA. She didn't build a historic college career, just a moonlight in a vanity league. And she's not going to risk her pro development by jumping into something that doesn't challenge her or elevate her. And she's been honest about that. She doesn't sugarcoat her goals. She's aiming for longevity, for legacy. She wants to be great for a long time, not just viral in the moment. That's why her endorsements are carefully chosen. Why her off-season is planned with intention. She's thinking 5 steps ahead, not chasing the quick dopamine of buzzy headlines. So when a league like Unrivaled tries to wrap itself around her image without her buy-in, it looks desperate. And it is. Because without her, the platform doesn't hold up. It's not built strong enough to stand on its own. The deeper problem is that Unrivaled has yet to define what it actually is. Is it a summer league? An influencer platform? A professional sideshow? The branding says one thing, the gameplay says another, and the players' attitudes say something else entirely. That identity crisis is killing its momentum. Fans might give you 1 season to figure it out, maybe 2, but if the league doesn't start delivering on the hype, people will walk. Especially if the players they came to see never actually show up. Clark isn't just navigating this carefully. She's setting the tone for how other top players might approach leagues like this in the future. If she snubs the format, others might follow. And not out of imitation, but because they see what she sees, a lack of competitive integrity, a branding-first mentality, and very little return for the risk involved. Why would elite athletes commit to a system that doesn't push them to be better? That's the fundamental question, and Unrivaled hasn't answered it yet. They've distracted, delayed, overpromised, and underdelivered. But they haven't shown why this league matters on the court. Until that changes, Clark's silence is a statement. It says, this isn't it. It tells fans, media, and sponsors alike that real basketball still matters. that you can't fake substance with a few palm trees and Instagram content, and that if a league wants to earn respect, it has to respect the game first. There's still time for Unrivaled to course correct, but that window is closing fast. Because if Caitlin Clark walks for good, if she makes it clear that she'll never touch a ball in their format, then it's not just a missed opportunity. It's a death sentence. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to burn bridges. She just doesn't cross ones that go nowhere. That's the quiet power of her current stance. She's not trashing Unrivaled. She's not tweeting shade. She's just not participating. No endorsement. No press runs. No rehearsed sound bites. Just a clean, strategic absence. And that absence is louder than any promo video could be. It tells sponsors, fans, and other players, she's watching, but she's not convinced. She's focused on what matters: longevity, skill development, and legacy. Not temporary buzz or leisure leagues wrapped in branding spin. Meanwhile, Unrivaled continues to double down on the image game. Carefully curated photos, tropical vibes, backstage smiles. They're trying to manufacture momentum through aesthetics. But none of it masks the glaring issue. This league isn't built to compete. It's built to be seen. And there's the split. Clark comes from a world where being seen is a result of performance, not a replacement for it. In her mind, the court is where value is proven. The highlight reels, the camera flashes, the magazine covers, they come after you put up numbers, not before. This isn't some old-school grind mindset. It's just how elite athletes operate. They care about building something real, something that lasts. So when a new league pops up offering more flash than foundation, it raises red flags. Clark's decision to sit out is based on what she's consistently shown throughout her career. She's not interested in playing down to a level that doesn't challenge her. If Unrivaled wants to be taken seriously, it has to rise to meet the standards of the athletes it wants to attract, not the other way. And let's be honest, the public sees through this. Fans can spot authenticity. They can tell when a league is trying to ride the coattails of a star they haven't earned. And when Clark's name is plastered on a roster with no commitment behind it, it doesn't build excitement. It builds doubt. They know she hasn't practiced with the team. They know she hasn't posted about the league. They know she isn't preparing for 3-on-3 action in the off-season. So why pretend? It feels hollow. And that hollowness reflects back on Unrivaled more than it ever will on her. Photos. Unrivaled isn't failing because it's new. It's struggling because it hasn't figured out what it wants to be. It wants to tap into the WNBA's rising visibility, but it doesn't want to deal with the pressure or structure that comes with real basketball. It wants the players, but not their full game. It wants the fans, but not their expectations. That tension is why the league feels stuck, trapped between entertainment and athletics, with no real commitment to either. If Clark were to join, it would shift everything, but only temporarily, because even her participation wouldn't fix the league's identity crisis. It would just buy them more time. The real issue would still be there. No system, no stakes, and no substance. And Clark knows better than to attach herself to something that doesn't align with her values. That's why her endorsements make sense. That's why her WNBA presence is sharp. That's why she commands respect beyond the court. She moves with intention. She doesn't chase every opportunity just because her name could dominate the. In a way, her silence is a favor. It gives Unrivaled a chance to rethink its approach without the added pressure of trying to live up to Clark's standard while she's watching from the inside. Because once she steps on that court, the bar instantly rises. And right now, they aren't ready for that. They wanted her name more than her game. That's a business decision, but not a good one. Because when the real competitors opt out, it sends a message that the league isn't serious. And if it's not serious, it won't survive. What makes this so ironic is that Unrivaled was positioned as a breakthrough, a player-driven space, a league that would finally give female athletes full control. But that control only means something if the competition is worth showing up for. Clark already has a platform. She already has influence. What she wants now is to grow her skills, to win titles, to lead. She's not looking for a photo shoot. She's looking for a challenge. And right now, Unrivaled isn't offering. So unless things shift fast, it's likely that Clark continues to sit this one out. And if that happens, other players will follow. Because nobody wants to be the face of something unserious. Especially not athletes trying to build legacies. And fans? They've seen this story before. Leagues that sell hype before product rarely last. If the basketball doesn't deliver, the headlines dry up. And when that happens, it's not the absence of beach photos that kills the league. It's the absence of respect. Unrivaled has one final window to pivot. It can rebuild, redefine, put basketball first. But that means starting from scratch in some ways. It means focusing less on who's being photographed and more on who's making plays. That's what fans actually care about. That's what players like Caitlin Clark respect. So what now? Will Unrivaled evolve? Or will it double down on vibes until the last influencer walks away? Time will tell. But one thing's clear. Until it gets real, Caitlin Clark won't get involved. If you're watching this thinking same energy, different league, hit that like. If you're siding with Caitlin on this one, drop a comment. And if you want to keep up with every twist in the wild ride of women's basketball, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be here when the next shoe drops.